I would say like all 5 players in the team actually like stepped up big time.
If we win every remaining game, we are 100% top 2.
For us, it's really important to be top 2.
I think Phoebe is probably the best mid laner right now.
Here we go, onto Poppy, the package has been delivered, and this is a cut and dry kill.
Our matches against H2K and G2 are gonna be a real test.
Every team in top 6 can take a series out of anyone.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Week 9 of the European League Championship Series Spring Split. We're coming to the far corners of the globe from our studio in Berlin, Germany. As we can see, Mithy and the rest of OG sporting a new haircut and preparing for their first game of the day, as well as Giants. And with just 2 days left to climb the 4 playoffs, it all comes down to this very high trailer we had there as well for Week 9. Hello, I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, here to preview today's matchups with the help of James Stress O'Leary and Mitch Kreppel Voorspoels. As said, Week 9 is upon us, and the just 10 games left on the slate. It is all about seeding. Of course, all 6 playoff spots have been secured, and it's all about the different races now at the top of the table for that 7th place spot and 4, 5, and 6.
So many races on, even down at the bottom of the table as well. We found out earlier in the week which teams were going to be locked into their seeding for promotion. So now the race is on at the bottom. Who's going to be the ones that are going to end up facing Huma? Because that's not an opposition I'd want to take on.
Yeah, for me, just the battle between Fnatic and Origin is probably the one that is the least decided, I feel. And it can swing both ways. Because the top matches, Unicorns of Love, they play some really tough opponents in the top. Everybody's kind of expected to win. So I'm really looking forward to the Fnatic and Origin, how they do this weekend.
Well, what about the top? Because obviously H2K and G2 looking like they will lock in that top 2, but they could be ending up in a tiebreaker versus each other for that first spot. Also very exciting.
Yeah, we have to remember that these teams are not only looking at just finishing top 2, because once they get to start thinking about playoffs, the first seed is obviously not going to face up 2 and 3 in the semifinals. That means whoever wins that match, if H2K wins, for example, they avoid both G2 and Vitality in their race to the finals, and we'll meet one of those teams in the finals more likely. That is definitely a coveted spot, so that tiebreaker may be very exciting to watch.
Yeah, definitely a lot at stake here this week, and hitting Summoner's Rift on the big stage is also patch 6.5. All champions are enabled. However, not the biggest patch we've seen coming in here for changes-wise, but a couple of things changing in the meta. Yeah,
a couple of small nerfs to a lot of the champions we've seen at the top. So Kog'Maw, haven't seen him in the last couple of weeks, but a slight nerf to where his attack speed comes from in his kit. The TLDR from it means that more attack speed slightly earlier on is needed to get that big spike that we were seeing from Kog'Maw. Other slight nerf, Nautilus, slightly less damage on his Riptide. It's not enough to take him anywhere out of that top lane. He's still going to be a highly contested pick, just ever slight change to his trading potential.
Yeah, those were the meta kind of changes. Then we have some non-meta champions. More important for me, what I'm going to look at is like Soraka and Urgot. Used to be like the bottom lane in Season 2 as well. Soraka's play pattern completely got changed. So right now I believe you max Q and then you carry over that heal that you get from it with your W. So this won't really see much play in Europe, but Adrian, hopefully he's reading that over in North America, so he doesn't screw up his Soraka play right there. Other than that, I like Urgot overall as a champion. I think he is surprisingly deceptive. I think that's the best way to describe him, especially if he goes for a very armor-heavy CDR build. He could be like the kind of a pick like Rammus, you know, that does really well in some of these triple AD carry compositions. So maybe somebody practiced him, because the change on his reverser right now, adding the fear to it, makes him stronger in teamfights.
Yeah, a couple of changes to his ult, but for another teamfighting ult that we're maybe expecting a little bit more. Jarvan had a change to his ultimate. The damage now applies to everybody in that Cataclysm, not just to the target. I still don't feel like he's top tier. He's probably going to be seen in games where maybe Elise and Nidalee are banned, but it's a champion that we're expecting to see maybe crop up.
Is Jarvan top tier in your hands, or?
He's like the only jungler I can play, really.
All right.
It's like that and Rek'Sai. Other than that, no.
Okie doke. Well, as we reach the end of the split, we want to look back at how far we've come since January. Get on Twitter and tell us which pro do you think will be most integral to their team's success heading into playoffs or whatever they're fighting for, and why. Be sure to send your tweets at LOL Esports and use that hashtag EULCS so we can see what you think later today. For now, though, for a look at what's to come in Week 9, let's check in with Trevor Quickshot Henry.
Thank you very much, Sharks. And as Week 9 gets underway, let's quickly take a look at the matches on the slate for today. We will be kicking it off with the Giants taking on Origin. The day will play out and it'll end up with Splice trying to upset G2 Esports. Now, these games are all incredibly important, especially as the week continues, because there's some must-win matchups across the board when it comes to tiebreakers, when it comes to those seeding battles, and which teams are most likely going to be playing those extra games. So let's take a look at the standings table and figure out exactly where those races are on. Right at the top, you've got G2 Esports and H2K. They are battling for first and the very important seeding in the bracket. In the middle of the table, you've got Fnatic, Origin, and the Unicorns of Love. They are battling for fourth. I think maybe more accurately, they were battling to avoid sixth place. I'll get to that in a few moments. And then finally, Splice and Elements. They're fighting for a guaranteed spot in the summer split, trying to skip the promotion tournament altogether. Let's take a closer look at each one of those races, starting with H2K and G2 Esports. I think this one's pretty clear-cut. These two teams have got a 1-1 head-to-head record as they've traded games in the split. H2K will be facing the Unicorns of Love and Elements this week. Those are two games that I think they are heavily favored to win. And G2 Esports will be wrapping up the day with Splice, and they'll face UOL tomorrow. So I think both of these teams will both take a 2-0. And what that means is we're set up for a best-of-1 tiebreaker for first or second. I think it's fair to say there is some outlier cases where if either of these teams drop games to their opponents, Vitality's in with a shot. They're only one game behind. Vitality's playing Rocket and Splice. So if these guys mess up, Vitality's in that race too. Next, in terms of racing, it's the fourth place. And this is a little bit more challenging because, of course, fourth plays fifth in the playoffs, sixth plays third. So it's very important to place higher up. Let's start with Fnatic. They've got themselves a 0-2 versus the Unicorns of Love, meaning that head-to-head breakers they're behind. They're 1-0 over Origin, and they'll be playing Elements today, Origin tomorrow. So for Fnatic, if they beat Elements and my predictions come true, that game against Origin could determine that fourth and fifth seeding. Let's take a look at Origin. They're 2-0 over Unicorns of Love. They're 0-1 versus Fnatic. They play Giants and Fnatic as the first game they're busy setting up on stage. As we've already alluded to, Friday's game's important. Now the tough one, Unicorns of Love. Despite their head-to-head over Fnatic, they're behind Origin, and they've got the toughest schedule, guys. They're playing H2K and G2 Esports. So in order for Unicorns of Love to win, they have to pick up a victory in some tough matchups. That's if they want to stay in the running for fourth. I don't really think they have what it takes. So in my opinion, this battle comes down to Fnatic versus Origin tomorrow. It could decide everything in that fourth and fifth seeding, and we could also be in for another best-of-1 tiebreaker. Finally, another quick and easy one to understand. It is the battle in seventh place. It's a battle for that safe spot and avoiding the promotion tournaments. It's Elements and Splice. They've got themselves a 1-1 head-to-head record. Elements will be playing Fnatic and H2K, incredibly tough. Splice will be playing themselves G2 and Vitality. If either Elements or Splice pick up a single upset victory, they all but guarantee themselves a spot in the summer split, bypass the promo tournament. I don't think that's likely, so I think we're going to see a tiebreaker to determine who is safe and who's going to be playing Huma or the Copenhagen Wolves. Right, now I've run through the possibilities. I think it's time for some predictions. This is what I call my quick picks. First and foremost, H2K and G2 will be a tiebreaker. I think H2K is going to win that tiebreaker, and they will walk away winning the regular season. Run through the rest of the results. Vitality, I reckon Fnatic's going to beat Origin on Friday. Origin, Unicorns of Love. And in the tiebreaker between Splice and Elements, I think Splice are down to take it. Finally, Rocket and Giants is one last one to remember, because if both of the teams lose today, whoever wins Friday's game will take home 9th place and better seeding in the promotion tournament. So there is still hope for Giants and their roster change to pull another win. Playoffs are right around the corner, guys. The tickets are available for quarters and semifinals over on lolesports.com. Go check out the website and figure out how you can join us here in Berlin. As we head over to the casters, we're going to hear from Soaz as he's going to talk about the issues that his team is facing as they head into the playoffs.
We had a lot of problems in terms of like communication, and the problem is mostly about like what do we do after the map is open. We don't really know what to play for when we don't have to play for turrets or something like this, so we are just like running around without like really a plan or something to do. Sometimes we tend to like not even call targets, so like the communication is not so good, really bad right now, but it's improving compared to like the 2 last months, so we have to take it step by step, I guess.